Welcome back to RBP. I'm Ross Bolen, here as always with your co-host Jared Borislow. We hope you had a simply splendid holiday weekend and are looking forward to laughing with you today. Jared, the 4th of July took place over the weekend. I went to a little pool party on Saturday. And by pool party, I mean an adult friend of mine has a pool that was filled with the offspring of all the other adults that were there. In fact, at one point I went underwater and I was just like, oh, this is just gallons of children's pee seeping through all the orifices in my face. But, you know, people were drinking beers, cracking open those seltzer things that everyone drinks now. What do you call those?
I mean, White Claw is the most famous.
But there's a billion of them. What are
hard seltzer.
Hard seltzer. There you go. Hard seltzers. And as sober guy, when you go to places that aren't like, this is a friend of mine that's not all that familiar with me. I don't even know if they know I don't drink. And when you go to stuff at places, people's houses, events where people aren't used to being around somebody who doesn't drink, they don't have shit for you. There's nothing there to drink. You get stuck pounding the sodas and the carbonated waters that are there for mixed drinks, which brings me to our first topic, best and worst sodas. Everyone here that has listened for an extended period of time knows I'm a soda connoisseur at this point. Like, I went through a phase where when I would go to restaurants, and you know how normally I'm talking for like a nice dinner or something, and you ask for the wine menu, and they bring it to you, or they'll, suggest one or whatever. I started treating sodas like that. So I would like awkwardly ask the waiter, almost to like make everybody at the table deal with it too, like, what sodas do y'all have on tap? And they're always real taken aback by that, because, I'm a grown fucking man. And then they'd like go down the list, and then I'd like ask, do you have Sprite in there? And they're like, no Sprite.
Have you ever ordered milk at a nice restaurant to drink?
Not in a long time. I think I would have to be with my dad. That's a Steve Bolen move, 1,000%. But you and I were discussing a little bit off mic, and you mentioned that you are an adamant anti-root beer person, which is upsetting to me because on my best soda list, root beer and Sprite are constantly battling for number one. And for me, there's a pretty specific difference between circumstances for what would dictate which one I pick. Sprite, refreshing. Root beer is like my classy go-to brown drink. I don't know why, it just makes me feel better. And for the record, when I drink soda during dinner, which is almost every night, it's like the one time of the day I have a little soda, and I buy the mini cans because, soda's trash for you. And when I drink it, I pour it into a nice glass with ice, and I pretend it's, a man drink.
Yeah, I grew up drinking like at least a soda a day. I'm not proud of it, but I embrace my heritage.
That's not a lot, though. You know that, right? Like, by American standards, growing up drinking a soda a day is not a big deal. Like, as an example, the co-host of our television and film podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, Mr. Barrett Dudley, he had a very serious soda problem. We're talking several. Like, we're talking like you're trying to get what happened? What is that when you have to pee out a rock?
Oh, a kidney stone.
A kidney stone. Like aiming for one.
He's trying to like self-harm by taking in so much soda that he passes a kidney stone.
He was a big Mountain Dew guy.
Okay.
I feel like people who drink Mountain Dew, which would definitely sit upon my list of worst sodas.
Oh, disagree.
That's toxic poison water flavored.
No. Mountain Dew is solid. If you're a gamer, you're not a true gamer because you don't like Mountain Dew. So we all learned something today. Ross is not a true gamer.
Fair enough.
I think root beer is the worst soda, and I think that because it tastes like licorice. It's like, it's weird, it's off-putting, it's way too strong.
Which root beer did you have, though? Because this is a very important part of it. It's like getting a craft beer almost. Like, you can definitely get shitty root beer where they tried to do too much.
So I actually will concede this. A craft root beer, I can enjoy. I would never go out of my way for it, but if somebody's like, hey, you want to, like, I've got one of these Virgils or one of these, like, Spreckers.
See?
I'll be like, yeah, I'll drink that.
You mean because they're delicious?
Well, here's why. Because I think those ones are way more vanilla forward. So when I drink a nice root beer, I can really taste the vanilla, and it kind of tastes like a vanilla-y, like, barky treat.
Sure.
But like a Bargs or an A&W or like a God forbid, a mug.
The classics? You don't like the classics? I don't know what mug is, but the other two I'm in.
Those are terrible. Those are so bad. Because those just taste like corn syrup. Those taste like corn syrup and licorice. Like, the corn lobby was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give the shittiest corn candy. We're going to give the shittiest corn drink. And we're just going to mix them together.
I'm looking at mug now. And yeah, I've seen this one, and it's not the one I grabbed, that's for sure. Just from a branding standpoint, it looks like it wouldn't be good. It's a bulldog holding a giant pitcher of root beer, which is also not a thing. Regular beer comes in a pitcher. Who the fuck gets a pitcher of root beer?
Like maybe at like a pizzeria.
And back to the gamers. What's with these people? I tweak my balls off sitting there playing Warzone without a shit ton of Mountain Dew or Red Bull or whatever other horrific energy drink they pour into their bodies.
G Fuel.
How do they do that? Like, how do they, like, I'm serious. Like, I was playing Warzone 45 minutes ago before we started recording, and, like, my hands were shaking, bro. It's war. You're in the zone of war. And when I'm in, like, if I'm going to war for real, I'm not pounding Mountain Dew or fucking G Fuel before I hit the battlefield. I'm trying to be focused.
I used to drink, I could say probably like 90% of my high school summers were spent drinking Mountain Dew Game Fuel. Now, I think G Fuel stole the idea for this from Mountain Dew Game Fuel. It was a special blend of Mountain Dew that they came out with.
I remember this.
For loser high schoolers like me to drink while they were playing World of Warcraft. And I drank a lot of it. I had a mini fridge in my room that could fit 9 cans, and I would just constantly have like 9 Mountain Dew Game Fuels or Dr. Peppers, which is my favorite personal brown soda.
Sure.
Always
Dr.
in my
Pepper,
room.
Dr. Pepper, to be very, very clear, is in my top 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's a phenomenal drink. But it is odd, like, to be a Dr. Pepper guy and hate root beer as much as you do, or at least some root beer.
A lot of people say that. I just think it's too strong of a flavor, right? Like, and it's weird because I actually like cream soda, which is like an incredibly strong, disgusting drink. But like,
This makes no sense.
I know. But I just don't like the barky, licoricey flavors of root beer.
Barky, what the fuck did you drink? The funny thing is I Googled Mountain Dew Game Fuel, and it popped up, like, with some places I could buy it. And then, for some reason, the 5th option to the right is something called Bob Ross Positive Energy Drink, which I will now point toward the camera. And it's literally Bob Ross on a can. And it's $6.99 for a pack of 1. 1 can of Bob Ross Positive Energy Drink, 12 fluid ounces, $6.99, but free delivery with Amazon Prime. Shouts to Jeffrey Bezos.
CEO entrepreneur. So the funniest Mountain Dew they ever made was called Mountain Dew Whiteout, and it literally looked like a bottle of jizz.
What is wrong with the Mountain Dew branding? People are crazy. They just don't have any limits.
Look it up. I want you to
They're
look this up.
habitual bar pushers, line steppers.
You look at it and you're like, oh, I can't drink this in public. This just looks like I'm drinking milky man juice.
Mountain Dew Whiteout.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not in for this.
So Mountain Dew has come out with a lot of flavors over the years. Now I'm going to rate them for you, okay?
Oh, God. Okay.
Number 1 is Code Red. Mountain Dew Code Red is goated. You can't really beat it, okay?
Fair.
Number 2 is Mountain Dew Live Wire. That is the orange citrusy one. It's neon orange. You can't miss it in the gas station soda aisle.
Just the name of the first 2 alone, I'm starting to tweak.
Number 3 is Baja Blast. A lot of people think it's number 1, but realistically, it's just not. It's just not. It's good for sure, and like if you're going to Taco Bell and you have a choice between regular Mountain Dew and Baja Blast, you're going to get Baja Blast. But you know, not for me. Over the other 2, and then last is obviously regular Mountain Dew and Game Fuel. I'm not including the limited edition Mountain Dews here because there have been so many.
Yeah,
so many.
There's an outrageous selection of Mountain Dew flavors that I'm looking at
one.
here.
The purple one is above Baja Blast. I don't remember what it's called though. That might have been a Game Fuel.
Was it Black Cherry Mountain Dew Kickstart?
No, I don't like Kickstart. Those are gross. Those are Mountain Dew made a soda designed to be a morning drink called Kickstart.
What the fuck is?
Was
it Mountain Dew Pitch Black?
Maybe.
What? There's so many, Jared. This is disturbing.
It's unbelievable. It's like they come out with drinks like fast food restaurants come out with new specials. Like every 2 months, there's like a new Mountain Dew flavor.
Yeah, they're like a golf club company. They just keep pumping out new drivers that have one little tweak to them, and the morons keep paying the money. Did you ever get a suicide? Were you a big suicide guy when you were a kid? Would you go down the soda line and fill it up with all the different flavors?
I would never do that with soda, but I would always do it with Slurpees and Ices. Always.
Man, I haven't had a Slurpee or an Icy in probably 10 years.
No, didn't you say you got a Slurpee last night?
You're sick. Sick and sexual. Jared, it is summertime. As you know, it is hot as balls outside. and your balls need a safe space to spend these scorching months, enter our sponsor, Birddogs. Birddogs making the most comfortable shorts in the world with which you can go swimming, climb a tree, play cricket. They also make pants for golf, for life, for love, for swimming. If you want to be part of the revolution like Jared and I, we're swimming in pants all summer 2021. Birddogs, they're incredibly comfortable shorts with built-in underwear, the most comfortable shorts ever. Even their pants have underwear built in. Nobody will even know, though, because they look so nice. You're just cheating the system, winning at life. And frankly, they make pants without the built-in underwear as well if you don't want to be a wheel breaker like Khaleesi.
Somebody sent us a video of them going kayaking yesterday, celebrating the long weekend.
Indeed.
And it said, really wish I had my swim pants on, and they looked and they just had regular. They didn't even have Birddogs on. They just had regular shorts, and they wanted to have Birddogs pants on so they could have swim pants so they could go swimming in swim pants.
They should have gone to birddogs.com and used the code RBP because what's more, Jared, do you remember when you were a small child and you'd go to a fast food restaurant or get a box of cereal and there'd be a toy in there?
Yeah, and I'd be like, oh, you know what? I don't want the apple juice that comes with this. Give me a Mountain Dew.
When you order Birddogs using the code RBP, you're always getting some kind of awesome toy with your order. At one point, you got a deadly weapon. It was nunchucks that came with anything you ordered if you used the code RBP. Then you had a point where you got rubber ventilated lawn cleats to do your lawn on Sundays with if you ordered from birddogs.com using code RBP. But now, you get a whistling football. Remember like the Nerf football when you're growing up that whistles when you chunk it on the beach or whatever or at the pool? Yeah, go to birddogs.com, use the code RBP to support the podcast. You'll get a free whistling football with your order because you listen to RBP and wear the most comfortable goddamn shorts or pants on earth from Bird Dogs. Congratulations, birddogs.com, code RBP, free whistling football.
Did you hear a week ago when I did the Birddogs read and I tried to whistle?
Did you fail at whistling? Yeah, you sound like Job in Arrested Development when he loses a tooth. I watched the WeWork documentary last night on Hulu. And for those of you who may be unfamiliar somehow, WeWork was a startup back in 2012, 13, somewhere in there, when it first started. Okay, and the concept was essentially communal workspace.
Yeah, co-working space, which became a very huge industry. Not as much as they thought it was going to be.
2020 may have derailed that had their founder and CEO Adam Neumann not derailed it before 2020 had the chance. But it's one of these horror stories in American business history where a company, its value was so overinflated, and it was run by someone who had so disconnected from reality that the entire thing came crashing down in spectacular fashion. And I knew the gist of the story, but I didn't know much about Adam Neumann, who's the main guy, right? It's him and a co-founder, and the other guy didn't really have shit fuck to do with it if it comes down to it. And Adam Neumann and his wife, though, Mrs. Neumann, you could call them problematic. They had what was at its core a pretty good idea, which is that human beings in 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, into the 2010s, with technology, the way social media had exploded, the world was a totally different place. People like you and I, for example, small business tech guys working on the web, making shit happen with podcasting and social media and the internet. We don't necessarily need what would be considered a traditional workspace, some corporate office environment that has a bunch of desks and whatever the fuck, which is why here at Bolen Media headquarters, we operate out of a house in South Austin because it's much more suited to our needs.
My office is a bedroom that has a bed in it, and sometimes I sleep for an entire day and don't do any work, and Ross never even knows.
Don't know what he's doing in there. Just taking a nap and jacking it. And so the concept at its core was that they were going to take basically dilapidated buildings, turn them into nice communal workspaces, and this is a very, very important aspect of it, they were not buying anything. They were creating long-term leases in these buildings and then basically renting out the space, right? So what initially the idea is relatively exciting, and Adam Neumann is a Israeli immigrant with big picture ideas, and he's extremely charismatic, and he's able to really get people to buy into his dream, which is the most important part of being an entrepreneur. You need other people to believe in what you're doing, because if they don't, why the fuck would anybody work with you? So
his big thing he did was say that we are the we generation.
Yes.
And he's trying to create this movement
he said if you took the word me and flipped it upside down, it became we.
Exactly. So the idea is that if we all work together, this generation of forward thinkers, we're all young, we're all hip,
we're going to change the fucking world. Fundamentally, it'll be completely different, Jared, because we'll all be working together, and when we work together, we're all just a little bit better. And at its core, like, you want to believe that, right? Like, you want to buy into an idea like that. And frankly, there was a point where I remember back at our former company where you and I worked, at one point somebody was like, why don't we just go do like a WeWork for the day? And I remember being like, we have an office. That's why we wouldn't go do a WeWork for the day. But conceptually at that point in time, and this was probably 2014, 15, when that happened at our former company, the idea of getting into a place with a bunch of other creatives that you could feed each other that energy or whatever was like still a thing. And then again, in a post-COVID world, talking about this just sounds silly as shit because nobody is trying to work with a bunch of strangers trapped in a room that they don't even fucking know. The way the documentary is set up, by the way, is beautiful because it was filmed during COVID. This was created, this documentary, last year. And at the you have no sign of that, though, until the very end of the doc on Hulu again, where they show each of the people that have been being interviewed the entire time, either taking off or putting on a mask. And it's this very eerie moment where you're just like, oh my God, like, even if they hadn't failed on like, they were so screwed. And eventually what ended up happening is this Adam Newman guy's running around New York City. And it's a very Fyre Fest feel to him. He's got that, what's the Fyre Fest guy's name?
Billy McFarland?
Billy McFarland, who I hope is serving his prison sentence well. If he's still in there. He's probably not. Rich people tend to not get punished. And we'll get to that later. He was running around Billy McFarland style pitching. Basically, this is what I read it as. If he got one really wealthy, respected New Yorker to buy in. And then from that point, that dude's friends and everybody connected to him business-wise is interested in what's happening, and then some of them buy in. And it's a snowball effect.
And eventually...
And from the beginning, you're completely disconnected from your actual value because it's all about the future. And this is something we've seen a lot of the past 15, 20 years, especially with tech.
You've invested in a lot of it.
I have, almost exclusively in this sector of overvalued tech companies. And like Tesla is a great example, where the stock price is not, it doesn't indicate its current value. It indicates what people think the value will be. People are buying on hope, right? Not facts, not figures. And in the case of WeWork, none of it was real, ever. And the guy was a liar and a grifter on a level like you've never fucking seen. But as you're watching the documentary, it's so easy with the hindsight to be able to be like, this guy's so full of shit. How could anybody have bought this?
Yeah.
But you have to think of it this way. Like, if somebody walked into your life with excitement and passion and energy that you didn't have or were looking for, and they were able to harness that in some form that had real money behind it, and it did, especially at the beginning. Like, they got mad money invested into this thing.
Masa-san, who is the richest investor in the world, who runs SoftBank Vision Fund, invested in them and gave them billions and billions and billions of dollars. And he literally said, "You need to be crazy with this money."
The most beautiful part of it is that when push came to shove, it was and this is I'm reading a text message from my group text that I sent earlier today when we were discussing this, me and my high school buddies. It was the greatest personal wealth transfer from fundamental Islamic Saudis to Israeli-American entrepreneur via Japanese real estate mogul.
That's what it was.
And the point that Jared's talking about, where SoftBank went and raised, essentially, Masa went to Saudi Arabia and met with all of these incredibly wealthy, powerful members of royalty and also
oil
families. Big old oil money. And people who are sitting on trillions of dollars and just ridiculously wealthy, who are looking for where they go next because they're sitting on this dwindling asset that is obviously not now or anytime really soon, but it's getting less valuable by the day. And eventually, we all know the goal is to get away from fucking fossil fuels in terms of the way we've relied on them, right? Mm. Clearly, there'd still be a place for it, but it's not going to be like it was. And the more into the future we get, the more that becomes a fact. So they wanted to get into tech, get into somewhere that could be the next future wealth-bringing, whatever the fuck, you know, how rich people are. And Masa convinced them that this dude was it. And they put billions and billions of billions and billions of dollars into his hands when he was already fucked. Like, the dream was already dead. it was all but like out in the open, in fact, at that point, that this thing was almost a sham. And then they like kept resurrecting it. And then eventually, the way it comes crumbling down is actually hysterical because one of their employees was just given, I believe, actually Adam's password to help manage his shit. And one day she was accidentally in his email and saw one that was about layoffs, where he was bragging about having cut more people than was even necessary. They needed 7% cut, and he cut more. And he sent out an email, the CEO and co-founder, Adam Newman, sent out an email that was like to the people in that chain that said, I cut more than 7%, bitches, like exclamation point, exclamation point. And so she started digging. And that's when she finds, oh, none of this is backed up by anything. And then eventually their audacity to still put out what I believe was called an S1.
They were trying to go public.
They were going to go public, and one of the first steps, in fact, the first step you have to take is to fill out this form that shows your financials. And they did some twisting and some turning, and they did a lot of interesting gymnastics with their metrics, and they still failed miserably to paint a picture of anything that could be considered to have a strong foundation. It was clearly a crumbling, problematic business model that was burning something to the tune of over $100 million a month at its peak. Part of that was Adam running around buying $60 million jets and doing things like fucking adult summer camp and hiring people like will.i.am, the ultimate sellout, to come and sing and shit. I don't know that he was there, but I'm sure he was. And I mean, it's just the most insane story of greed and a refusal to accept reality, and like this idea. One of the great quotes from the documentary is, I believe, I can't remember which guy says it, but he's like, if you tell a 30-something male that he's Jesus Christ, he's inclined to believe it. And somebody, a successful person in their 30s with enough life experience to sort of harness the abilities they have, but not enough life experience to understand what they're doing, is obviously dangerous if you have somebody strike gold like Adam did. And I'm just like we did this startup thing, right? We watched one fail.
We're doing it right now, too.
Jared, we're doing it again. Jared and I were involved in a startup, though, for 7 or 8 years that had a ton of momentum, and it was a very successful company early on. And then I'll say, like, watching this, I guarantee every single person who has ever worked at a even semi-successful startup will see pieces of their founders, co-founders, C-level executives in this documentary, because it's the same kind of people. That you have to have this certain mentality to even get into this world, right? To believe in yourself enough, or to be crazy enough, if you want to put it that way, to go out and try to make it on your own. And then there's levels to that. And there's a level of delusion that can be powerful and help you with your ambition. But there's also a level where, like with Adam, where it's just so diluted with ego and weird. His wife was a big part of this. Again, like she was like super, super, super hippy dippy, and trying to feed all this like spirituality into their company.
And she tried to start the next generation of schools for children.
Yeah, so
costs like $100K a year.
And this is one of the things I didn't know about this. So I only knew the story of WeWork. I did not know that at one point they started We Live, which was basically a cult.
That was a co-living / co-working.
It was a commune. And both of the this is important, both co-founders, Adam Newman and the other, both grew up in communes.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a spectacular failure. But then also We
Learn
or something like that.
That's what it
was going to be they started with children, and it was they were going to reinvent education entirely. And at its core, everything this guy said was like, and this woman, his wife, was like semi-correct, but it was also like, it's not profound. That is not a profound concept, that education needs fixing. It's not a profound concept that humans work better together and that we need each other. These are basic human principles that he was selling as like world-changing ideas. And when you watch it with the hindsight, it's just such a spectacular shit show. Beyond, like, in one of their best interviews is a chick who was Adam's personal assistant, who essentially fell into the job, was like, oh my God, I'm going to live the dream. I'm going to be worth millions. He literally told her that, and many, 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 many other people who walked away with nothing while he walked away with a hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of million, over $1 billion settlement to leave. They paid him like $1.7 billion to step down. And they show her go from her excitement in the beginning and telling the story into the end where it literally crushed her and she had to go through months and months and months of therapy to regain her reality because this guy so distorted it with his psychosis, basically. And this fucking thing, this dude is still out there. Like, that's the crazy part. It's like this dude's out there living in like the Maldives and surfing with this crazy woman.
He loves surfing.
And the people who now own WeWork, SoftBank, and whoever else the fuck has the ownership over it at this point, they're still going to try to IPO it later this year. Like, they're preparing to try this, like to try to keep this fucking thing alive that's still pumped full of like Saudi oil money or whatever the else is.
Kind of sounds like a value play here.
It's crazy to me that it's still going. Like, I expected the documentary to end, and I thought in my head like this whole thing had come crashing down in a way. I thought SoftBank was gone.
I literally live like a 5-minute walk from where WeWork. Maybe I'll work out of there.
It's just still. Oh yeah, they're still kicking it.
Yeah, it's crushing it. I don't know if they're crushing it, but it's there. It exists. I know somebody who works out of it.
What the hell?
Yeah, can bring her in for an interview. Shouts to Ellie.
WeWork.
Yeah. So, okay. My favorite part of the documentary is when there's this one dude, I think he's like a professor of economics at NYU or something.
Yes.
He looks into it and he's like, yeah, I realized that the value of WeWork, they're valuing the office, the WeWork office inside of these buildings as more than the value of the actual building that it is housed in.
So they pull up a building in Manhattan where they had just an obnoxious amount of these WeWorks. And the building's value itself was something like $57 million for the building. The WeWork floor was valued at like 90 or something. It like the math, none of the math added up. But that's a random not random, but a professor. He's not somebody actively working there, like just looking into it and then being like, good God, which means that every single person who was investing had some level of that knowledge and was still like, nah, I think this fool can pull it off.
Yeah, I think if they had gone the McDonald's route, right, and they had bought the buildings and they had bought the land and they
become a real estate company.
He makes such an effort to let you know
they're not.
Like, he goes out of his way to, we are absolutely not a real estate company.
Over and over and over.
Like, dude, you should have been.
It was like a weird piece of the puzzle. There must have been some reason early on that was extremely problematic for them to go the real estate route or something because, he was real over the top about making sure everybody that interviewed him that they're not a real estate company. And when you're watching it and you're thinking about, like, if you've seen the movie The Founder, like Jared and I have, shouts to our
We reference it an unbelievable amount on this show.
One of our former C-level executives that made us watch that movie. McDonald's and the value of McDonald's as a corporation comes from the fact that they own billions and billions of dollars worth of real estate, which is where the McDonald's buildings are and their locations.
There's a McDonald's that's right near the WeWork that I'm talking about that's literally like next to Zilker Park. And is probably worth, that land's got to be worth like $2 million minimum.
Who knows? But so they didn't go that route. They went the lease route, which, as you can imagine in your head, when lessees stop leasing and you still have a long-term lease, WeWork does, with that building, they show multiple times in the documentary people shoveling money into like a, furnace. And that's what they were doing. At a level that I will probably never exist again. I don't know that anybody will ever be able to grift. I mean, it was the ultimate pyramid scheme, like the ultimate grift, the ultimate con man. It's amazing when you look at it and see how it unfolded over the course of it. The other thing is, like, I thought this happened faster than it did. That was like a 7-8 year stretch of this dude building it into the behemoth that eventually came crashing down. And there are a few people who have ever walked the face of the earth and been more full of shit than Adam Neumann, to the point that he tells this story. One of his anecdotes that he goes around hitting everybody with at the beginning is that his wife told him, you have something special, but you're completely full of shit. And it's one of those things where you can tell that hit him so hard in his core that he had no choice but to try to use it somehow in his story.
Yeah.
And he never finds a way away from it. And one of the things they frame the entire documentary up with is they're trying to film this basically clip of him explaining to people why WeWork is going to be okay and explain away the issues that have surrounded it and explain away all the headlines that have come out about how it's a disaster and this guy's a joke, and he can't even get a take in. And what I mean by that is they show you literally like probably 20 minutes total of footage of this dude pacing around the room, saying really random stuff that doesn't make sense, then trying to get into it, then blaming like people in the background who are moving.
And at one point, so they started filming it probably like in the afternoon, and at one point the sun goes down and they have to redo the entire lighting in the room because there's no more light.
And they still haven't gotten a single second of footage. And then by the end of it, they have to give up and say like, we couldn't do it. Sorry. Never, like it doesn't happen. And it was crazy, man. It was crazy to watch this dude flail like that. Like he had absolutely nothing going and somehow found his way to like the tippy top of the most powerful city in like American economics. Like he was the god of New York City for an extended period of time on the level that like Billy McFarland would have fucking nutted for, right? This guy threw a music festival. Adam Newman built what at one point was valued as like I want to look up the highest valuation.
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting.
Because it's an insane amount of billions of dollars.
It's crazy what like
47 billion.
It's a crazy what like tall, good-looking dudes with long hair can get away with.
No shit, man. And his assistant at one point even she's like he was tall and it's like that commanding presence or whatever. That's why I'd never try to stand too close to people that are shorter than me. It's fucking weird. That shit makes me uncomfortable. Because if you use that, then I already know you're not telling me the truth. Like, if you got to use your presence to fucking feed me your dream, then you're not hitting me with the real version of it that I need to put in a single dollar.
The only thing that I can say about Adam Newman, though, is that, like, I really wish we had his ability to sell to get people on the RBP Patreon page.
That would be great.
Like, okay.
And actually useful.
You'll be part of the we generation of those of us on the RBP Patreon.
Yeah, the WEOs. We stopped calling their. By the way, he was the CEO, and then they had a bunch of WEOs. It was like 13 white dudes. This was the most non-diverse group of executives ever.
It's like some old McDonald's shit.
Yeah, WEOs.
The WEOs.
And it's something that if you do work at a startup, or you ever want to work at a startup, or you get into a startup, that you really got to be looking out for. Like, if the dude in charge is full of shit, or comes off as like, comes up with stuff like that, WEOs, you need to get the fuck out of there, because that shit is coming crashing down.
That sounds like a cereal, like a wheat circular cereal, like Honey Nut Cheerios, but wheat EOs.
Anyway, I want to fight Adam Newman. He's on my list now.
Oh, he'd beat your ass.
Probably.
He's like ripped. He surfs a lot.
I feel like my rage would be an advantage.
His height would be a disadvantage.
To me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he could kick me in the face.
No. The height, like, it's like, when there's a really tall goalie, you just put the ball on the ground, right? In soccer. So, like, you got this tall dude, just like punch him in the dick, punch him in the knees. What's he going to do to you?
Height is an advantage in a fight, Jared.
No. I disagree. I would rather fight a tall dude than a short dude of the same weight and muscular ability.
Yeah, but it's the cartoon thing. I just hold you like this and you're swinging at the air and you can't even reach me.
But then you're not punching me, right? Like,
that's true. At least you're not getting your ass kicked.
Well, I guess he could hold me in place with his hand and then just punch me with the other
Or kick you in the dick over and over. Hold you like this, stiff arm to the face, and then I just kick you in the dick over and over.
If a tall guy tried to kick me in the dick, right when he makes contact with the dick, I'd wrap my legs around his leg, and then I'd just be like stuck on his leg along for the ride.
I thought you were going to try to use your penis as like an arm. Wrap your penis around it.
That doesn't seem like either of us would enjoy that.
Well, speak for yourself. WeWork. Go watch that documentary, though. This shit is very, very eye-opening in terms of what to avoid business-wise.
What is it on? Hulu?
Hulu. The old Hulu. This episode of RBP is also brought to you by Cuts Clothing. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now, as I often am. Fellas, the sport of business means demanding excellence from your craft and wardrobe. Your fits need to be versatile, blending timeless style and comfort so that you look as good as you feel. And for that, there's Cuts Clothing. They took a classic men's fashion staple, the plain tee, And they refined it, combining premium quality materials with a minimalistic aesthetic. They've got shirts, polos, hoodies, crew sweatshirts that are made for the man who works hard, plays hard, and never settles for less, all in the sport of business. You know who didn't wear Cuts clothing?
Who?
Adam Newman, and that's why he failed. Built for performance in the boardroom, the bar, or the gym, Cuts clothing keeps you sharp wherever the game takes you. Take a plain tee, but make it Tony Stark. The bleeding edge of fabric technology meets the man confident enough to wear it. Cuts clothing. It was founded in 2016. It's phenomenal. Been wearing Cuts for a couple of years now. The hoodies, the t-shirts, they're all great.
If you're watching on YouTube, you're wearing one right now.
I am, and it's very comfortable, and I look quite good. The perfect t-shirt, accomplished. Go to cutsclothing.com/RBP right now. cutsclothing.com/RBP to support the show and get 15% off your first order. Grab yourself a couple of these. I promise you will love them and you will look good wearing them. That's cutsclothing.com/RBP. Support the podcast. Get yourself the best t-shirts. The only shirt worth wearing. Cutsclothing.com/RBP.
Sorry to interrupt you. That was cutsclothing.com/RBP.
It was.
If you didn't hear him say that. Now you say they're more of an athletic fit, correct?
Indeed.
Yeah. So do you generally order like a size up or
a size up? No, but I'm also athletic and fit. Next segment: Sha'Carri Richardson and Reefer Madness. I have to talk about this because it's too much up my alley, and it's just the most ridiculous shit. So everyone is aware of this story at this point. Sha'Carri Richardson, who was probably one of the most exciting American athletes entering the Olympic Games in Tokyo, which are happening in 2 weeks or some shit. When do they start? Do you know?
Soon.
She was disqualified for a month, banned for a month, because the 21-year-old who won the women's 100-meter race at the U.S. track and field trials in Oregon last month had a positive test automatically invalidate her result. And the thing she tested positive for, Jared, was marijuana. Cannabis. The United States Anti-Doping Agency announced the positive test result on Friday morning last week, said Richardson had accepted a suspension of 1 month starting on June 28th.
Okay, that's kind of funny, though. Anti-doping. It's literally dope.
United States Anti-Doping Agency. That's the agency that we need to either get rid of or change drastically, though.
That's literally, there's never been a bigger agency of narcs than the United States Anti-Doping Agency.
That's what they do. They narc. And apparently, I'm still very unclear on whether or not there's a chance that she could run at all.
It seems like no at this
point. But it
point.
sounds like no. It's one of those things that rocked the sports world, right? Like, it turns out in an interview with NBC on Friday of last week that Sha'Carri explained she had a positive test using marijuana because she was coping with the unexpected death of her biological mother. Essentially, she went through a hard time emotionally and needed something to help her get through it. Which is, like, if that's the concept you have a problem with, that any substance helping you get through anything is bad, like, that makes more sense to me than standing on, like, weed being bad or marijuana being bad. I could see at least the argument but like, that's bullshit. Most people have something they rely on to help them when shit gets hard, when times get tough. And for a world-class Olympic athlete to smoke a little weed to try to get through some shit when her mom died, and then have that be the thing that keeps her from participating in the Olympic Games, which she's like trying to, at this point, frame it up positively. She's very young. She'll be back next game. She's got plenty of games to go. She promises she's going to be there. You know, any anti-doping agency that comes for her in the future, she says she'll be ready for. I mean, man, you're missing. That's 4 more years until she gets to do this shit again, bro. 4 years is a long, long time. People change completely in that frame of time. So it's a huge bummer to see that this is still a thing. Cannabis, marijuana, THC, that is being considered. It's the old school mentality of that. Like, it's just the reefer madness aspect of it. A lot of athletes use weed to recover. Now the argument's gotten so out of control that I see people like Emmanuel Ocho making arguments on Twitter about, like, well, you can't have a javelin thrower out there on edibles. That's dangerous. It's like, bro, what the fuck? Have you ever smoked weed in your life? It doesn't turn you into like a fucking lunatic who can't handle their physical goddamn body. I can smoke weed and still play sports. I do it all the time. It's not a thing that it makes sports harder for sure because you're stoned. But they're using it for recovery. That's the other part of this that people don't seem to understand. She wasn't fucking high running the race. Weed stays in your system, man. I haven't smoked in 4 days, for example. By the way, I'm 3 times faster than I was 5 days ago. And if you test me right now, there is an extremely high amount of THC in my system.
Humble brag.
But that doesn't mean I'm fucking high right now. I'm not. So it doesn't matter is my point. Like, you could smoke weed and by the next day, it is not a performance-enhancing drug. If anything, you'll be a little groggy compared to what you would have been if you hadn't. Unless you're coping with the death of your mother or some other horrific tragic event or depression or any other type of mental health issue that could be helped with the use of cannabis. And like, it just, that part of it is hard for me because it's like a devastating L.
For a lot of reasons. And the one group that I can't understand is all of the social media brigade commenting on all these stories and on her posts and on news outlet posts going, she knew what she was getting into. She deserves this. Like, the International Olympic Committee and the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency is not going to have sex with you. So why are you defending the United States now has a worse chance of getting a gold medal because our best, fastest woman is not running in the event for who is the world's fastest woman? That's a bad thing. Just taking that into consideration.
It doesn't make sense. And it's like that people love to kick you when you're down thing.
Yeah.
And like, I'll say this. Sha'Carri seems to have an incredible attitude about it all. That's a tough spot to have. Probably half the world, I'd say. It's probably a 50-50 split at this point of people who are morons about weed and not. All up on her ass about this like she did something wrong, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of Nike. I'll say I appreciated the way they kind of stood behind her. They didn't say she did anything wrong in their statement, which was important to me.
What do they say?
They stand with her and they see it as a complicated situation and whatever the fuck. But like, Nike as a company, I don't really like their morals.
You mean the whole like using young children to make their clothes?
Yeah, it's not good.
Allegations.
It's not good. Yeah, they've got some labor issues that they've had over the course of the history of Nike. But this one sucks, man. It's silly. It's like one of those things where I feel like I'm in a time machine.
A hot tub time machine?
No, like the worst kind, where it only goes backwards.
A cold tub time machine.
The cold tub time machine. Yeah, just sitting there, shriveled cock, traveling backwards into a place where people still don't understand that weed is not dangerous.
Oh my God, it's William Randolph Hearst.
And let me rephrase that. Weed is not more dangerous than any of the other shit that we pour into our bodies and eat on a daily basis. Like, bro, it's still the country that has embraced alcohol like it's fucking water, not being cool with another substance that to me and to a lot of people is significantly less harmful.
Over the course of
Makes
10
no
years,
sense.
you could say that Mountain Dew is more dangerous than weed.
I think 1 can of Mountain Dew is worse than an ounce of marijuana. Here's the good thing, though. The Olympics are still happening, and I am stoked for them. I kind of forgot this was even coming up. I think COVID just sort of like made me completely forget the Olympics for this year.
Well, they were last year.
Yeah, it's a what? They
were supposed to be last year, just like the Euros. Are they still calling it the 2020 Olympics, like they're calling it the 2020 Euros? Because that weirds me out. It's not 2020. Like, I get that you're playing the 2020 Euros in 2021.
They are.
I don't like that. I don't support
No, that makes me super uncomfortable. I didn't even realize that. So this was supposed to be last year, and it's this year. Are they still doing 1 in 3 years? Or is it going to shift to where it's now... who the fuck knows?
No, I don't know.
Who the fuck knows? But I'm going to be betting on the Olympics is the point.
Oh, yeah.
Because betting on the Olympics is fun as shit because the Olympics have obscure events that not very many people know a whole lot about. Right?
My favorite obscure event is the steeplechase. It is where a bunch of grown adults run around a track and like spread out across the track. There's a hurdle, right? And after that hurdle, there's a large puddle of water. And the runners have to jump over this hurdle, land in the puddle of water, and then keep running. It's essentially a like cross country for people with soggy feet. That is the event. One of the most unbelievable events.
I Googled it, as you're talking, because sometimes you say things and I'm like, I can't tell if he's making this up or if this is real. Yeah, this is super fucking real. From 1896 to now, we've been doing the 3,000-meter steeplechase, which is exactly what it was just described as. What the hell?
And I believe there's a small school in Wisconsin system called UW Parkside that just produces steeplechase medalists. Like this one tiny school in Wisconsin, their whole thing is going and having Olympic steeplechasers.
Did you know they've had different weird shit in the Olympics that they've since removed?
Oh, yeah.
Like the horse long jump?
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, they have equestrian in the Olympics, don't they? Yeah, you should give the medal to the horse.
Live pigeon shooting? Tug of war?
Tug of war. Okay, we need to add tug of war back in.
Yeah, that one should have never been brought out. It was like in 1900, 1904, 1908, 1912, and 1920, it looks like.
That would be the absolute most amazing sport to watch. Tug of war? Our beefiest dudes and chicks just like tugging.
Yes. It's a war, but you tugging on a rope.
I thought you were. Okay.
You had a tug of war last night, didn't you, Jared?
I did.
You big, oh, by the way, where I'll be betting on the Olympic Games? Do you know the answer?
I'm wearing a shirt.
It's on your fucking t-shirt. MyBookie.ag, one of our sponsors, our official sports betting sponsor, MyBookie.ag, where if you use the code RBP, you'll get a deposit bonus. Stipulations apply. But that means if you put in money, they'll give you some extra money to play with. And you can support the podcast by using the code RBP. They've got all the live bets and what's the word I'm looking for? Perks, odds, great odds, the best website, great app. You can access it from anywhere on your phone, obviously, and get the action you need while supporting the podcast at the same time. MyBookie.ag, all the sports right there in one place for you to bet on. Use the code RBP when you sign up.
I've got a good bet right now going. I bet plus 540 that the
Tampa
Lightning.
Bay.
That Tampa Bay Lightning, my other allegiance.
Your other school.
That the Tampa Bay Lightning will win the Stanley Cup in 4 games. I bet that before the series started. They're currently up 3-0. I will be at a bar in South Austin tomorrow night. Wait, tonight? Tonight!
Is it tonight?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Go Lightning.
Go Lightning, baby. Ning! Let's go.
Yeah, tonight we can see if Jared's bet cashes on MyBookie.ag, where he took a future, which is a thing people do. You can bet futures. You can bet what you think a series that hasn't even started yet, what the outcome of it will be. And he bet that it would be 4-0, which is actually like the most hardcore future you could bet on a series. Yep. And it's actually probably going to happen tonight. So we're very much looking forward to that. Go Ning.
I think it will be the first sweep in the Stanley Cup final since like 1998 or something, if it happens.
Yeah, nobody wants to see this, but it's also like we're up 3-0. And when I say we, I mean me too, because I'm also a Ning fan.
So it's really, really weird being on this side of an incredibly boring series for neutral spectators, right? Because I am thoroughly entertained. This is the best thing in the world.
No stress, just eating it up every day, right?
Everybody else is like, this sucks. Like, this is so boring. The Lightning are destroying them. It's not fun to watch because I don't care about, like, the goals are cool, but no drama.
Fuck them all, Jared.
Fuck them.
Ignore them. This is for you.
Fuck their wives, drink their blood.
Exactly. This is your moment. You and Jeff's.
My brother, bigger Lightning fan than I am.
And also Jeffrey Bezos as well. He shares every moment with us. Our overlord Bezos.
Yeah. CEO. I love that song. That might be my favorite song on the album.
I'll run it on loop for like 4 or 5 minutes because it's real short. And I need more than just one. You a big fireworks guy, J-Bone?
No, I'm kind of like ambivalent.
Ambivalent. The 4th was on Sunday, obviously. And my neighbors have been doing fireworks every night for a fucking week. They were doing it like 3 days before. This shit will continue through all of July until they run out, like it did last year and the year before that and the year before that. I cannot, for the life of me, understand neighborhood nighttime fireworks guy. Is it because like we all hear it, right? We've all been in a neighborhood or at a house where either you're going to sleep or you're trying to go to sleep or you're sleeping and you hear somebody has popped fireworks nearby because it's summer or because New Year's happened recently or the 4th of July happened recently. And I'm always like, so did somebody just go, you know what? Fuck it. And go into their backyard and just start shooting like fireworks into the sky?
Now, it's more than that, Ross. They made the conscious decision to drive 35 minutes outside of city limits
to go get some
to a stand where there's a person. Who knows where they bought these from? Probably from ISIS or Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
Where do you get fireworks from? Where they're illegal? I don't know.
China.
They probably bought them on Alibaba, got them shipped over here.
All these fireworks are infested with COVID. Have you ever been to a fireworks stand? It's actually fucking amazing.
I actually have never. I've driven by hundreds. I've never actually stopped.
To your point, There are weird seasonal jobs, and then there's working at a fireworks stand. Like, you almost have to be a felon to do that, I think. I don't think they let you near the fireworks stand. Like, because who's going for that? Your job is to sit in a place that if one match goes wrong in the back, you're all blown fucking sky high to hell. It's over.
Smithereens.
You know?
To shreds, you say.
No offense to the cons, but it's tougher for them to find work, man.
I mean, seasonal explosive salesman. That's how you write it on a resume, right?
That's what it says on your business card?
Seasonal explosive salesman.
What do you do for work? I'm a seasonal explosive salesman.
Or you're a seasonal outfitter. That's the people who work at Spirit Halloweens in strip malls that take over like old stores. Do
you think they rotate from like the Spirit Halloween to the fireworks stand to the Thanksgiving haberdashery?
I didn't know there was a Pilgrim outfitter that seasonally popped up in Houston, I guess. Wasn't aware. Yeah, I think that there could be, there's got to be one for every, unless they make so much money during fireworks season and during Halloween that they can retire the rest of the year and fuck off on a jet ski. You think that's it?
Are we in the wrong line of work? Should we start a fireworks stand?
Because fireworks are New Year's, 4th of July, Passover, Purim. You got Easter fireworks, of course.
The Jews fuck with fireworks?
Some Jews.
Passover?
Why not? Fuck it. You can't eat food,
you can't just add traditions to... This is thousands of years of history. Jared just made Passover a fireworks holiday.
And Purim. Actually, Purim, you can't trust the Jews on Purim with fireworks because they're all hammered. That's what Purim is. I'm Jewish, I could say it. I'm not just like, out here going crazy, but...
I like that we're all allowed to make offensive jokes about our own races, though. That makes no sense to me and is also amazing. So I've just started ripping on white people incessantly. I'm like a year and a half in. It's pretty fun. Sad sometimes, but pretty fun. Jared, you ever been shot with a Roman candle?
No, I've seen the videos of like the Roman candle wars.
Every year. They go viral.
It's fun to watch, but like, does it hurt if you get hit with one of those?
It's a fireball. Yeah. I mean, this is stupid. Like, we are just fucking, we love fire, the humans. We love this shit. Explosions.
Fire was part of evolution. Like, we got here today because Adam and Eve had sex and then they had a fire.
Yes. That's exactly what happened. I've read Genesis, and it was Adam and Eve that God was like, you can have sex anywhere in this field, but don't fuck next to that pile of wood because you two are too hot and it will create sparks and friction and then a fire could erupt. And then they did, though, and then that changed the whole shit. We got fire, and then we got Tom Hanks in Castaway on the beach. I have made fire. And the tradition lives on. You ever stuck a bottle rocket up your ass?
I've seen videos, a lot of videos. There was this fraternity in Wisconsin that used to do this. They used to have a white trash party, and then the crescendo of the event would be a man would lay on a picnic table. They'd stick a bottle rocket in his ass. Yeah. And then I think they got suspended after one of these because the video went viral.
If you're black and you're listening and you're like, what the fuck is wrong with white people? Let me explain it to you. Because I just had it explained to me a couple days ago. I was watching Dave season 2, and in the 3rd episode, they get into like basically why white people have the ability to jack off like this and do stupid shit like this, like stick bottle rockets up their asses and then fire them. And it's because we've had it too good for too long. You have to be so stupidly, ridiculously comfortable before you can start making decisions like sticking a bottle rocket in your 2-hole and lighting it or shooting a fucking Roman candle at another living, breathing human. Like, we came too far and just fucked everybody else along the way so that we could stick bottle rockets in our asses. And that's what white folks have been up to, if you've been curious. Also, gum, trying to blow bubbles with our 2 holes.
I've never seen somebody try to blow a fart bubble.
That's what Dave and Benny Blanco do for 30 minutes in Dave season 2, episode 3. At one point, Dave puts his cock, which is apparently small, shriveled, and discolored, on Benny Blanco's head. In the episode.
You see Dave's penis?
Nope. They do it in a way that you don't even get to see it somehow. I keep trying to get a glimpse of it because he talks about it the whole show. His dick.
His name's Little Dicky.
Yeah, he's kind of obsessed with it.
So you're saying this is not a good show to watch with like your parents?
Not unless you watched like Borat with your parents and you really liked Borat with your parents.
So I have a weird thing with Benny Blanco. I had no idea that Benny Blanco was the guy who produced some of the most popular songs of our entire lifetime.
And you've seen what he looks like, right? That's the shocking part, is that him and Dave, they're pretty similar looking. I mean, they're little squirrely dudes, and this guy's cranking out hits for like Beyonce.
Britney
You
Spears.
just would never guess.
Yeah.
Like, you never would have guessed if you saw him on the street. You would never, ever guess that this was the cat that's like, but like Calvin Harris, Britney Spears.
Kesha, a lot of Kesha's songs he did with Dr. Luke, so there might be some conflict of interest there that he might have to reckon for at some point.
Let me read you this list. Ed Sheeran, Justin Bieber, Halsey, Katy Perry, Maroon 5, Kesha, Britney Spears, Rihanna, Sia, The Weeknd, Avicii, Selena Gomez, Adam Lambert, Charlie Puth, Keith Urban, Tory Lanez, Wiz Khalifa, Kanye West, Juice WRLD. I mean, it's the list of people you would want to work with if you were a producer. He's 33 years old, by the way.
Until he was on Dave, I think he was probably the most famous person nobody's ever heard of.
Not never heard of, but like definitely the most famous person in the world who, if you saw them, you'd be like, oh, shit, really?
I'd never even heard of him, but this man's phone is a Rolodex of A-listers.
Yeah, it's insane, to the point that, like, I guess him and Dave got close, and Lil Dicky, rather, in real life, and like Kendall Jenner and Bieber's wife are in the episode, man. Like, they pull from the top of the A-list of the celebrities when they're trying to work. It's just crazy. Anyway, one of the funniest things I've ever seen, also most disturbing.
Will you allow me to make the featured image for this episode the picture of me and Lil Dicky that I took? I took a selfie of me and him when we were on a cruise together.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yes.
Yeah, I support all things Lil Dicky. I think that dude, his comedy and his music are good for the world. And I think he's very talented and also disturbed.
Yeah, I met him. So I was on a cruise with him, and I was not trying to fanboy. Like, he was pretty much, it was a cruise with a lot of concerts on it, right?
Right.
And a lot of the other performers like weren't hanging out with the people who were just on the cruise to see the concerts. Every night, Lil Dicky's in the club, chilling in the back with his friend, his squad, and like just taking selfies of people. I just walked up, I was like, "Hey man, can I get a picture?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, I didn't talk him.
No shit.
I didn't
So
try
he
to talk
was,
to him or
like, very
anything.
normal.
Super normal. I literally was like, "Hey man, can I get a picture?" He's like, "Yeah." Took the picture. Thanks, man. Walked away. That's it.
Which again, there is a distinction. There are famous people like Lil Dicky who are like, "I'm a regular person who got lucky, and this is tight. Sure, I'll take a picture with you." And then there are famous people who think that they're actually better than everyone else. And you want to avoid those ones.
If you've never really listened to Lil Dicky and you like actual rap, not the general comedy rap that he does, listen to Russell Westbrook on a Farm.
I will also say, just if you're a fan of hip hop and you don't like Lil Dicky, like, you need to rearrange something in your brain, because this dude's hilarious. Like, he's very, very funny. It's really hard to make a hit song that's also funny.
He's amazing. And Russell Westbrook on a Farm goes so hard.
Him and Bo Burnham are like in the same ballpark musically in terms of like making actual hits that are also hilarious or, in Bo's case, extremely depressing and deep.
I wonder if they were influenced by Weird Al. You have to think so, right?
Oh,
he paved the way.
If you are singing funny songs and you weren't influenced by Weird Al, that's weird.
I love Weird Al.
Yeah. Have you ever eaten an M80?
Is that what's that? Like a cherry bomb?
Yeah.
No, why would I eat that? I don't want to blow up my stomach.
I don't know. I don't know why you would eat that.
That's like feeding a Pepto-Bismol to a bird, right? And it explodes.
Is that real?
Yeah, it's real.
Is it just pigeons?
No, it's like any bird. All birds can't burp. Seagulls. People do it to seagulls all the time because seagulls will eat anything because that's like what they're trained to do. I told you the one story a while back about the seagull that picked a man's skin from bone, picked him clean on the beach.
Yeah, picked him clean. Is this a problem in Florida? Are you often on the beach and you see a seagull explode because some fucking meth head fed it Pepto?
I've never seen it happen, but like you're always warned, like watch out. Like people feeding them. Sometimes they'll like bring a box of Cheez-Its. You know,
is it one of the 4th of July traditions in Florida that you smoke bath salts and then you go feed your local seagull a gallon of Pepto? No,
it's not.
You saw how over the weekend, well, obviously we just talked a little bit about sports with Sha'Carri and the whole Olympic situation.
And MyBookie.ag.
And MyBookie.ag, code RBP. But there's also a very big story that unfolded since our last episode regarding NCAA athletes, their ability to make money off their likeness and image, as we discussed a little last week. And Barstool obviously dove deep and hard into this. I think they got like 120,000 applications from student athletes to become Barstool athletes, which essentially what they're doing is sending them merchandise and helping represent them and market them on social media is the exchange. And like that's hilarious. This whole world of college sports is changing right before our eyes forever, and it's only going to get weirder from here. But so like Jared and I were checking our DMs and shit. We had like 1 or 2 people who were like, yo, I would love to be a Bolen media athlete. And we were like, yeah, for fucking sure. And we were talking about, we were like, we need to get like only the most obscure like D3 fucking underwater basket weaving competitors and shit like that. But seriously, we have like 4 now, which is really funny to me.
When are we going to announce them?
We have to make more merch first. Probably next week.
We should make a jersey for each one of them.
I think I want to start with 5 athletes and focus only on them. And I think that would be both fun and hilarious. Seriously, we could like keep up to date with like what the fuck they're doing this year and shit. But how they do.
We need to make sure that they are, you know, we're the only podcast that represent. We need to have exclusivity rights.
I've been looking into that. So one of them, for example, that DM'd and said I think he was a D2 offensive lineman. And he said, I'm really interested in being a Bolen media athlete. And I said, that's great. That's great. You've made the best decision of your life. And then I checked his page and it said Barstool athlete. And I was like, but unfortunately, it looks like you already have representation. And frankly, we only fuck with people who don't have representation and have never had representation.
Yeah, because those are underrepresented people. We support underrepresented athletes.
Underrepresented athletes only. If you're already hot, we're not interested. We want ice cold, bottom of the barrel athletes who only can go up from there. We're trying to buy low and then sell you high.
We're going to smoke them out?
We will get you banned from the Olympics, 1,000%. Like, if you become a Bolen media athlete, you will never get to compete in the Olympic Games until they make marijuana legal, because if you step foot near me, you will become infected. Not right now, but, you know, in a couple weeks when I stop the tea break. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bolen media athletes. Jared and I were the first 2, obviously. Jared being a disc golfer, myself being an avid cranker.
They got to add that back to the Olympics. That used to be in.
Speed jacking was my favorite Olympic sport. Who can finish fastest? There was also one where you had to hit a target. It was almost like the long jump, but for jizz. How far can you shoot?
Or archery.
How accurately?
Could have said archery, but it's kind of...
Rope counting competition. I'm going to stop making cum jokes now. That will do it for today. But as a reminder, last Monday's episode featured a look into the world of patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast, where Jared and I could really use your support. If you liked that episode, if you liked the taste of the few different episodes that Jared inserted into that episode, that was a confusing sentence, it would mean a ton if you could throw us $5 a month, support the show, help us grow our company in exchange for ad-free episodes every Friday, columns, and more, depending on what tier you pick. So go to patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast now. Check out the tiers. Jared and I will be back on Wednesday, as we always are. Any closing statements from you, Bone Man?
Like, imagine you have 4 hours a week that you're driving in the car. Sorry, 4 hours a month you're driving in the car, right? You can fill that void that you have already, like, you know, created with more RBP, and that's what Patreon is.
What we do here is we fill voids and we represent underrepresented athletes.
I promise, how bad that sentence I just said was, the Patreon episodes are way better. So I think I might have got us less patrons by trying to get us more because I said that so poorly. But now I didn't
do well either.
I'm being honest now, and people respect honesty. We're really honest on the Patreon.
This level of transparency is the level of transparency you will get on patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast. And it takes a man or a woman to admit when he or she has made a mistake. Jared and I are willing to do that here.
Only if you pay $5, though.
Only if you pay $5 at patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast. Seriously, though, come through, support the show, get the extra content. Jared and I put a lot of time and energy into making sure that it's just as good, if not better, than what you're getting every Monday and Wednesday right here on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Also, I would also say this. If you're an Apple Podcast person, Apple has essentially turned its middle finger up at the entire industry at this point.
Do you want to save this for a longer, harder
Yeah, we could
push?
probably do that. Just burn Apple harder another day.
Yeah.
Good idea. But patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast. Check out the tiers. Get one. And we'll be back Wednesday. Until then, keep kicking ass, taking names. Billy and the Bone Man, out.